In the recent week, Arsenal have been shown a tactical and technical level which is higher than anyone else in the league. And while it has taken some time for the attack to bed in, it looks like it's finally working. But something that's been a given all season is just how good they are from set pieces. With the set piece coach Nicholas Jova doing a brilliant job at getting the team productive from them position. With the main target being defender Gabriel, let's just look at why he is so effective from these positions and why Arsenal are so good at set pieces in a whole. Now last season, Arsenal were still very effective from set pieces. They ended up scoring 15 in the Premier League, which was the 4th best, and overall had a good mix of going front post and back post, getting their big headers on the ball. But this season, they've definitely taken that to a completely new level. They've already scored more set piece goals this year, sitting at 16 and being 3 clear of anyone in the league. Now, a big reason for that has been the defender Gabriel. Since he joined Arsenal, he's played 150 appearances, and since the 2020-2021 season, he has scored 14 goals, which is more than any other defender in that time. And his presence and influence both on and off the pitch have grown immeasurable since his debut against Fulham in September 2020, with him being considered the rock of Arsenal. Now, Gabriel deserves a lot of credit, and he has clearly a natural aerial ability. When he first scored, he scored on his debut for Arsenal against Fulham and did a brilliant goal because he usually just stood his ground and won the header in the box. A lot of players off the ball, such as Rob Holding at the time, actually tried to distract the goalkeeper like Ben White does now, and Gabriel was assured that he would win the header and won it and scored from a close range. And despite scoring on his debut, only managed to score one more goal for the rest of the season. But in the 21-22 season, Arsenal signed set piece coach Nicholas Jova from Manchester City, and then Gabriel's goal scoring rate went straight up to 5 in that year. And a common thing that Gabriel did to score so many goals that season was actually stay away from the 6-yard box, and he withdrew to around the penalty spot where he would draw a defender out. This gave him a clear run, which he often attacked to the front post, where he would usually get a flick on, or he'd head it in with his brilliant aerial ability and his brilliant power from his heading and jumping. Now, he often was alongside Ben White, and Ben White often distracted players so Gabriel could get a header, and I think this was the first start of the seeds that we see now that Arsenal use all the time. Now, within the last 2 seasons, obviously Ben White was moved to the right back position and Saliba came in. Now, Saliba probably isn't as dominant, but he's a lot taller than Ben White at 6'4". With Ben White's new position, it meant that there was a lot more free room in the box, and Ben White often, we've seen it time and time again, he goes and marks the goalkeeper, often looking to distract the keeper and sort of just put him off. He is also there to rile up the keeper to make sure he does something stupid, giving away a penalty or being rash in a decision. This also means that the goalkeeper usually can't come out and demand a lot from their box, so there's been a few times where Ben White has riled up the goalkeepers and Gabriel has managed to win his header in the 6-yard box and obviously puts it in from that close range. Gabriel is a very assured player and knows that he's probably going to win a header, and he's got a brilliant technique at doing it, so when you get him them positions against other players and it's a 1v1, he often wins them, so it's brilliant that Ben White can put off the goalkeeper. And Arsenal have taken this to different levels this season, and we've seen that especially recently, which they've clearly been working on. Obviously it's been very well reported, but Trossard is someone that is in the team purely just to block other players. Now, he was taking corners before, but his delivery was often quite poor, so Jova's figured out a way to get him involved from the corners and usually lets him block or distract the 2 players in the box and usually the biggest header on the ball. Against Crystal Palace, this was Anderson. Trossard had Schlupp on him and used Schlupp to come with him to block Anderson as well. This was riling up Anderson, and Anderson was finding it hard to move to the players when he kept having him on him. This, alongside Havertz, who's usually, because of his height, used a bit outside of the area. He's usually just outside the 6-yard area on the narrow part of the pitch, usually having someone over that way. This keeps a lot of people away from the 6-yard box and allows them to run in and get a better run at the ball. Ben White obviously blocking the goalkeeper as well, and other players such as Saliba running in early, blocking usually a front post or back post role, gives Gabriel a lot of space to run into if the delivery is right, and often leaves him unseen by the defenders going back post or front post, and this was very effective in some of our games. The whole point is basically to blind the other team from what Arsenal are actually trying to do and trying to get the ball to Gabriel in great positions. It's not always aimed at Gabriel, but he's definitely the most superior player in the air for Arsenal, so he's the one you want to go most of the time. But the height of Saliba, Havertz, and also sometimes Gabriel Jesus could be really good in these situations, and has often led to them scoring as well from corners. Now, that is well reported, but something that hasn't really been spoke about is the fact that Arsenal are insane at in-swinging free kicks. Arsenal have become really vital at them, and we've been seeing them over and over again become a huge problem for teams trying to defend against them. Arsenal often have a lot of players offside from these roles. It's usually some of the tall men, so you get your Havertz's, your Rices, and your Gabriels sitting beyond the last line. Often the delivery matters a lot, and Martin Odegaard's brilliant in these positions. They they actually have the three important players for Arsenal all matter in different roles. The one that sits the closest to the ball is usually the one that has to try and block the first player in the defensive line of the other team. You usually have the middle player trying to fight with the other defender to try and put him off his run, and because these players are coming from offside to onside, they're actually usually in front of them, and if someone else steps up in the back line of the other team too early, like we saw against West Ham, it ends up keeping them all onside beyond the defensive line. Often, while also having Gabriel attack that post in the middle, the person behind him will also be fighting and try and cover that area, having another extra man in there. Arsenal also make sure that they get back onside, or at least fight with the team with the defensive line when Odegaard's running up to take his free kick. And the first player is always the decoy, trying to block the other players not being able to get there, and the other second and third player always run to the front post where the ball is positioned. And the first player is never meant to score in these free kicks. He is just simply there to try and stop and keep that front post open. This has happened a few times this season. We obviously saw it recently where Gabriel got to the front post against West Ham and scored, but this has also happened with people like Ben White when he scored against Bournemouth, moving to the front post from behind the third player because that space has been vacated by Gabriel Jesus blocking. And sometimes Arsenal, when they're going against physical opponents, actually have the first man and the third man block while having the middle player run in, which is always Gabriel. We saw this against Liverpool where Gabriel scored from that free kick. It's a brilliant delivery by Odegaard. A lot of questions of why he had so much space, but it's because Havertz and Gabriel Jesus are blocking a lot of men from getting into that position before Gabriel, and obviously Gabriel is brilliant in them areas and will always finish the job. And now the thing is, this has been done by Arsenal all over the season quite a lot, and a lot of teams will know that they try to do this, but it's just so hard to defend against because you can't move your defensive line deeper because you're going to cause even more problems. So you have to keep this high defensive line and just hope Odegaard doesn't do a brilliant ball in, because the physicality of people like Havertz, Saliba, Jesus is just simply too much for these players to defend against. And sometimes later on in games, even early on in games, Gabriel is just going to get through and get a free header, and sometimes you have to accept that. And sometimes the fear of what's going to happen also causes issues. Against West Ham, when Arsenal went 3-0 up, they did a very similar free kick, but it weren't even supposed to be like that. Havertz did simply not block the first person because Ben Johnson went too deep, but he didn't have to. With Ben Johnson going so deep, he wasn't going to make the ball to where it actually landed, and it ended up keeping everyone on side, giving Gabriel an easy tap in, but we had other players like Havertz there to score as well. Overall, Nicolas Jove has done a brilliant job at making sure Gabriel gets high, clear headers near to the goal, and he always puts them away. He's very good in them areas. This is why overall Gabriel scored so many more goals than every other defender, and probably will continue doing so for the time being. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you guys think of this video, and let me know down below if you think that these strategies are really good. I mean, they are, but I just want to see your opinion. If you like this video, I would recommend going to watch my video yesterday where I spoke about Nico Williams signing for Arsenal and why I think it'd be a great job. And I appreciate all of you guys for watching today, and I'll see you in the next one.